Hi, is Marilyn Monroe reincarnated for real? So it's a really, really interesting experience, reincarnation, because we go into the fetus, the spirit from the last incarnation, which was brutally murdered, pushed against a pillow until it suffocated. It was a very, very tough lady. She didn't want to die. And they hit her on the back of the head with a telephone as well, blood splatter. And she still wouldn't die, but they took her, bathed her, washed her hair, washed all the blood off of the baby, laid her down again, and basically gave her drugs, huge amount of drugs, initial, and left her. Me. Oh, so then the reincarnation, 3 years later after this, after flying around visiting my mom back then in the trees in her garden. This is where I flew to. And I remember the beautiful sun filtering through the trees, and I was above her head, and she was reading. And it comes by her shoulder and was over her. And so I flew all kinds of places and finally ended up in Europe, Poland, where I reincarnated, and then finally emigrated to Canada later. So it was a strange place to go, but I guess I ran from the place where the murder took place, start in another land that I was curious about after having had the Queen Alexandra incarnation prior to Marilyn Monroe. And then it was communist and very oppressed, and we came here, emigrated to Canada later. And I had this huge yearning in April 1916 to go to the United States, to Los Angeles, California. It was a very strong drive. And we vacationed there, but I never actually moved there. And as you know, ended up writing film and television parts. Film and television movies later, and a few parts, cameo parts for myself. So you may see me on the big screen one day. Let's see. Now, the other thing is, uh, it's a very, very interesting fact that it is the spirit from the last lifetime comes into the womb, works on the body, weaves the whole brain, weaves the whole thing. And some of us look somewhat like our past lifetimes with a few changes. So my son did the same thing. And my daughter a little bit too. So we're a combination of the past lifetime looks and a little bit from the genetic that we had to work with in this incarnation, weaving it. So when you weave it, so you're very, very busy. You come into the incarnation, and right away you've got your autonomic system to run, your heart rate, your growth, your digestion, everything. And so who's running it is the person from the past lifetime. Marilyn Monroe was actually running my autonomic system in the new incarnation of Ariana, Barbara Hudson. And you build the cortex when you're little, and it's really quite funny because the big, slow cortex, even the motor cortex, where you're a baby and you cannot lift your arm, and then you finally lift your arm to show yourself in this, rudimentary sort of rough manner, because of course motor cortex isn't the athletic fine finesse of athletes. It is actually quite jerky and awkward. So you're showing yourself as a baby that this is an actual fact how you move your arm, and this is fantastic to know this and to map it into the big fat cortex so you understand to actually have arms and you're moving around. And then we do this next and fine motor skills, and that is development all mapped into the motor cortex. And fine motor, well, that really stays in the cerebellum to the midbrain a bit because the motor cortex is jerky and it is like beginning to play the piano, for example, finger momentum. If you go fast, you're in your autonomic. So the motor cortex actually is a very slow uh, part of the brain for motor skills. And it's really quite ironic because when you drive, you are in your autonomic. Bad joke, I know, but anyway. So it is fascinating being alive as a reincarnated spirit in a new body where you have to map the brain and where you are, in fact, this what I call dull brain that is slow and is about to hear. It's perception. If you perceive beyond to your finger, you are using your midbrain and aware of this area. And if you perceive the whole room, you are in your cerebellum. And if you wink, like I told you before, you are psychically taking a picture of the entire hall. And if you sit and close your eyes, the photo of it comes back to your brain to show you, because that is the Horus eye, the eye of Horus teaching in ancient Egypt. And how does Marilyn Monroe know about this? Well, she's reincarnated for real and decoded her past lives because she had a massive ascension in this lifetime, is an adept in alchemical energetic sciences, has morphed space-time many times, disappeared, flown very far away, taking the whole body with her, and reappeared down on Earth. Now, I have not been able to do that for a long time now because of spacecraft engagement of my brain and body. What that does is it tends to keep you more stationary, and when the ETs are finished all of the work that's been very demanding on me and holding me stationary, so no, they can't remote control fly me around places because it injures me in the brain and spine and body. And then I want to grab those people, strangle them just a little bit, and sue them and take them to court. So they know it isn't a good idea to fly me around at all. So now, getting back to being present in this biological matrix, which is really where I prefer to do my work while I'm here, and then I have some semblance of health and well-being and can actually do my work instead of being flown. And I don't find any humor in it. In fact, I have the comedy channel, Starlight's Comedy Repertoire, and the Marilyn Monroe channel, in order to tell you that safe humor is telling jokes and providing content that is illustrated or spoken in order to provoke laughter and to give people some entertainment. That is safe comedy. And I'm glad that a lot of people in the world are supporting safe comedy, which isn't extraterrestrials trying to fly you across space-time against your will, wrecking your health, and then they have to come and heal you. Not safe. Nothing funny about it at all. So now, what I would like to say is, without any further interruptions of any sort whatsoever, welcome from any dimension, any quadrant, any city, town, or any other country, is this. Continuing on my talk about what it's like to be reincarnated in a new garment after having been deceased, horribly, terribly murdered, is it's fascinating and thrilling, and you wake up joyous and happy to be alive every day. Where you have a nice health, and a chance to take all the gifts from other lifetimes, put them into this one. So as you know, I wrote movies and decoded consciousness. As I spoke about in other videos, what the driving force was for Marilyn Monroe. And I began to include her a little bit more in videos of late because people asked me to, and they were interested in what she's doing today. And she's very much aware of the past life, and at the same time is weaving some of the humor of her into writing projects, which is very exciting. And I also use some of it in teaching of the matrix energetics to lighten things up a bit and to remind us that there is another part of ourselves that created this fabulous life that wove all of this and was born and was very, very running around mapping the big, slow cortex. And it shows itself, it shows itself, its past lives. Most other people more than I did. I found that from the murder, I was afraid to remember the past life. I didn't want anything to do with it. I would look at Marilyn Monroe movies when I was 5 years old and say, I'm not interested, and run away. And I didn't want anything to do with it at all. And so it wasn't until much later that I had weird dreams of walking around nude with blonde hair in her old body, coming back home from a party along the beach by high-rise buildings at like 5:30 or 6 in the morning, and then I had to go to work to set or something. So it was really quite interesting that day, and I was dreaming this, and also dreaming of being caught naked in the middle of the public, and it wasn't my body, it was that body, sitting and feeling so self-conscious, and that was, of course, being discovered face down nude in the bed with photographs taken and put all over the newspapers. So these dreams plagued me. And it was not until later that I looked at the house in my mind, and I remembered the house and how it was laid out in the bedroom, that it had a white quilt, and there was certain light coming in there, and beautiful plants and flowers all around the house. And then when I found photos of her home, that is in fact what it looked like. So I was showing myself this life for a very long time, as well as other lifetimes that I remembered that I wrote about for my movies and for the Starlight State blog. And when you become aware, it is not like a split personality like I mentioned before. It is a divine architect of this life. And then this lifetime is a combination. It's a combination of the remnant of the past life and then also of all of the new experiences, the new biology, the new places I've lived, new parents, new family, new different education I had, all kinds of things. And it's amazing. The old archive is available at the fingertips, and it's explained in the energy science of the matrix energetics how we work the light and where we have hidden the codex of reincarnation. So ETs don't need to rip my brain out to put into other people to show them, what that is, because that's what some of them were doing to me. And so I put this huge body of work up, Starlight State, and some of the videos to say, well, do you really need to rip out my brain? Or can people go on the blog and the videos and actually read and participate and watch to find out actually what the correct information is that I presented myself without the extraterrestrials that are weirdos and bizarre and do really strange things to people, uh, you know, to take us apart. Read, you know? Read. We've seen this in horror movies. Read. It's happening. Weird stuff to people. Oh, I don't think so. When you put that much time in writing and in video recording, I think it's much simpler to actually look at the person's work, don't you? So, and they were complaining today this morning. I wonder if they're mad at her because of the bovine cow abduction video she made about the cow. There is actually a video. If you look in top secret files in Starlight's date log, where you have all the UFO sightings that I've hidden under the atoms and the little suns. There's one where there's a field of cattle, and all of a sudden this cow picked up and is floating up into the air. And they show it being put on a spaceship, which sort of is camouflaged, and it disappears through this tube into this spaceship. So I'm sorry these things have happened. And if we had a fight earlier with the involvement about this cows being teleported for some sort of meal, I have no idea. They're laughing, they forgave me for this, right? I mean, it was a stupid thing, stupid discussion that ended up with me doing some videos about it. So that was part of an experience I had in this incarnation. That was the Ayana life, Ayana Barbara Hudson. And I'm not really aware of having any memories of seeing cows stolen from the fields in the last lifetime. However, it's quite interesting how when we reincarnate, we really have interesting things that happen to us uh, in order to illustrate some of the curiosities that we may have had. So one thing I remember about the Kennedy boys is we used to sit and talk about the UFO files they had and all this stuff that they were hush hush about, but they had all these photos and eyewitness reports and everything, and they were quite animated discussing this, so it was quite funny. Um, and so, this lifetime, I was very, very drawn and busy and wanting to decode things to do with extraterrestrials, UFOs, because we didn't have all the answers the last lifetime. So it was this drive and interest to get more answers, which we did. And so basically, we are quite driven to find answers to things that we were incomplete in knowing those answers in the last lifetime, which is part of the driving force of reincarnation. And in my movie, The Blue Butterfly Effect, there are three main reincarnated characters that I meet. that also have found that they wanted to look at this, we were looking at this together in a movie, how we wanted to approach our life gifts in this lifetime, and bring in some of the magic and the wisdom from our previous incarnations. So that's a fabulous movie coming out that I wrote, because when we took the blue marble butterfly, which I love painting them, I've painted them. It's part of a special collection that is for sale for very select clients. And the value of those, of course, will increase because I wrote a movie about them as well. They are in the movie. And I plan things very well. So it's maybe taken me a while in order to get out of the situation that I got into this lifetime where the ETs started putting me on hold. And a lot of people made a lot of money, and I was sort of poor as a church mouse and sitting, just writing, painting. And my little room looks, great, like a wealthy person, because I have all my mind around me and my art and everything. But I sit and I say to myself, I'm a very rich person. It doesn't really matter how long this takes. There's a lot of money all around me for my projects. And all that has to happen is that they have to go ahead. And then I will be fine. I'll buy a nice home and I will be fine. So I remember that every day, and I'm very grateful for the gifts that I have brought forth into this life, and that it is my inheritance and it is my wealth that will come into my life also, and that is to be respected by the people who say they support my work, and because they're put to the test, if they are honorable people, and if they in fact do support my work. And we're seeing some very interesting things about that. So aren't we? Some of them I'm speaking, and some of the ones who are very honorable and loyal people and waiting, I thank you very much. And those are the ones I consider friends. So what will happen is, no, the video will not be cut in the future if I decease. So someone's planning, I already deceased as Marilyn Monroe last lifetime, and I'm not planning on being murdered again. You see, usually if our lives are cut short, we come back and live a glorious long life. And when you have a lift-off big ascension, we live a long, long, long time. Some of the Andromedans making the Meccan cans have been around for 800,000 years, and they haven't died. So I'm not really planning on going anywhere soon. So perhaps other people who are pretending to be Marilyn Monroe, have some sort of fear about being murdered. I don't really have any fears about it at all, because it was my life. Why would I repeat the same stupid thing again? I'm not really planning on it. God, can you believe so many people out there? So anyway, what I was saying, I love having freedom of speech and disclosure that the extraterrestrials gave me, because it took me too long to get what I was supposed to get, and I was hurt so much they let me talk. I also have good karma about it, because I was murdered partly for talking last lifetime. And so when that happens to you, you have good karma, that people kind of meet you and they know that you're owed to have a chance to speak, to have your voice. And this time no one's going to suffocate you with a pillow against your face ever again, or bash you on the back of the head with a telephone. So sorry if that's an inconvenience to people who don't like it, but that's just how it is. Anyway, what I was saying is about the blue butterfly. The blue butterfly in the movie is discussed in this way. You have the event of a falcon that is somehow shot down, and it's a conservation preserved bird. So when you have a falcon shot down, it is the ancient symbol of the Eye of Horus, like our camera eye teaching that I gave in the Blue Matrix Energetics info playlist on YouTube. And you should watch those. They're very, very good. They're the gifts of this life that I have also done besides screenwriting the energy science of Blue Matrix. And those are free of charge. And I do have events that are paid events. It's $1,000, and you sign up. $2,000 for 2 days, but it's 2 for 1 if you bring a partner. And and it's with me, so it's worth the money. It's a steal, actually, to see me in person live, isn't it? Considering who I am, with Marilyn Monroe reincarnated and an ascended master. So it's a steal. Don't ever complain about the price, you guys. They'll last you for the rest of your life, those teachings. And they're very, very good. And I gave a lot free on the internet for you to enjoy. even if you don't want to pay and attend. And for those who do, we look forward to you being able to attend and thank the ETs that are there to assist you to being able to sign up and to purchase your seat if you need that at all. It's been a bit crazy in the sky sometimes. So, and hang in there, okay? Because I know I'll see all the people that want to attend in person because you and I are meant to meet one another. And it isn't fair for anyone to try to tear us apart or keep us from each other. Because obviously we have a great affection for one another. Me for you, wanting to learn and become a greater person in your own life. And you liking my work, obviously, and wanting to show up. So we have a destiny together, and don't you forget it. And so the other thing is, the blue morpho, when you have the downed falcon that is the symbol of the eye of horse, and then you see some of the things that have happened to us, some of us murdered in our last lifetime that were great people. I was a great movie star. And then in this lifetime, born again, the blue butterfly that has, yes, I mean, that has had a life shot down. And even in this lifetime, some of the difficulties we've had with extraterrestrial challenges on bad days, and people even in our lives, where we've had, our lives threatened or things that have really upset us. And then we overcome that and survive and become, not only survive, we triumph and we are very highly successful in our own lives. So that is the symbol of that. The blue butterfly, blue matrix energetics, and my blue butterflies arrive at this grand event. I'm going to be thrilled to see you. And every month after that, others will arrive. So that is partly what's happened, because I wanted to expand on what I said in the other video about reincarnation and what some of the driving motivations were of Marilyn Monroe in this lifetime. And so you will likely see me, uh, in my work and in my movies, and maybe in person one day if you come to the event. So I wish you well and keep on with your study. And the movie should be signed shortly. It's been very chaotic in Los Angeles, here, everywhere. We even had a tsunami warning the other night because there was an earthquake in Alaska. And it doesn't matter if it time code. It doesn't really time code. It just means it's a video that was taped at a certain time. It's the same with a movie or an interview with somebody. It's taped, right? And you can watch it. And if there's things in there that are interesting, it's still relevant. I don't really think we need to be hung up on dates and how it's controlling society. It isn't. What is controlling society is being stuck in here in the big brain, having to bring everything so slow, or you get scared and can't accept new information. That is what's running society backwards into the past. It isn't what date a video was made. That's ridiculous. So you will find, anyway, what I was finding was that, yes, it was a tsunami warning, tidal wave, because of Alaskan earthquake. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I read this. ETs were keeping me up. What can I say? And then I look, and thank God today it was canceled. We didn't have a bloody tsunami hitting us in BC and Vancouver, flooding the entire coastline. My daughter lives down there by the ocean, so I was flipping out. So anyway, it's fine. There's no tsunami. We're alive and well, and our coastline is still there. So we survived a near cataclysm that did not happen. So I'm sure you guys will make it to see me live in person. Hang in there. Have an excellent afternoon.